Hi, Dave. Welcome to Hong Kong.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. First time actually in Hong Kong.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
But the Hong Kong consensus has already been held for twice.
Yes, I know. Unfortunately, I didn't get to make it out last year. I know there's a strong representation here from the Polkadot community last year and heard a lot of great things.
Yeah. And I think you've been different conferences. And could you share is there something different you feel in Hong Kong and compared to other regions you've been to?
Yeah, I spoke at Consensus in Toronto last year. Definitely similar setup with the different booths, whether they're applications or the underlying blockchain technology layer booths. And I think it's similar, right? And I think the space is evolving. And I think as we move more towards into this real world application layer, I think we should really start to think about, are Web3 native conferences right for Polkadot? Should we start to think about the tech crunches of the world and similar on a global basis? Because at the end of the day, we want to start to resonate with everyday consumers, not necessarily crypto natives.
Okay, yeah. It was like, Polkadot was very popular in the crypto industry, and now the Parity already shifted the direction from protocol centric to product centric, and the product centric is going to produce some products that fit for people's life. That's why Polkadot want to attend or hold meetings that attract more users from outside blockchain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Look, and I think, when from my perspective, when Gavin coined the term Web3, it was about creating this social infrastructure layer of an operating system to allow for this to happen, a self-sovereign blockchain society that people can use these services for the better of their livelihood, right? And I think that's that trustless ecosystem that has always been at the forefront of what we believe in. And when it was built, we had the the parachain model that you know very well, right? We built this underlying technology, but 5-6 years later, and this is the industry as a whole, they're really looking for different use cases, right? And I think the main focus over the past couple of years have been around financials, right? Whether it's the next perp dex, whether it's Hyperliquid or Aster or Lighter, who's generating revenue from trading platforms, right? And I think what happened was we didn't see the adoption across supply chain in gaming and other innovations that we thought were going to happen back then. And I think with every technology, probably a little too early. So I think we need to pivot to think about how we as Parity can pressure test the technology as a whole.
Yeah, talking about finance, your career is all about finance. So why did you, choose, what drew you to blockchain industry and to Polkadot?
Yeah, I would say it was pretty much a hybrid of finance and technology throughout my entire career. And I've always looked at just innovation and how my skill sets can help a business excel and grow beyond that. So I think I've always had that intellectual curiosity to think about how a business operates. How do we go into different regions? How do we think about product market fit? How do we think about profitability, right? And I think as I saw the innovation, when I was working at BlackRock, I first got acquainted with blockchain in 2017. And I said, wow, this is really cool technology. Started to do research and I always followed it, but it wasn't until 2022 when I had the opportunity to join the Polkadot ecosystem, Parity in particular, to help really dive into it in more detail.
Yeah, it's the innovation that attracts you to this industry.
Yeah.
And the time you joined the blockchain is 2017, right? And I think this is where Polkadot starts and when Polkadot starts. And Polkadot was very, very popular at that time. But we have to admit that at least objectively speaking, Polkadot from the regulatory perspective or from the technical perspective, Polkadot are more ready. But I think the market reaction has been totally different. So how do you see this evolution all the way?
Yeah. Yeah, look, and I wouldn't just focus on Polkadot in particular. This is across the entire industry that we're seeing today. We're seeing almost like a mass reset on taking a step back and looking at things from a macro perspective. You know, what was our original vision that we wanted to, and what problems did we want to solve 5-6 years ago, and reassessing that today, and how we can make sure that we can pivot and see the vision through further. So I don't think it's a failure, right? I think it's about learnings and understanding what worked and didn't work. And I think that happens in any type of technology. And it takes decades for this stuff to come to realization. I mean, if you use maybe machine learning and AI, for example, these types of models in technology were adopted decades ago. But why now do the ChatGPTs and the Claudes have really come to life now, right? It's that commercialization of that technology. And I think what has been built from Polkadot, this infrastructure, I think is massive. And I think it will be part of this supercomputer and internet layer from 10 to 20 years to come. But it just takes time.
Yeah, evolution is just a part of the market.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because you are engaging in the institution financing stuff, so could you share more perspective from their views, towards Polkadot or towards the whole industry?
Yeah, happy to. I've spent a lot of time over the past 6 to 12 months with these specific audiences, speaking at different conferences, understanding how capital allocators or investors, whether they're general partners or limited partners in different venture funds, on what excites them. What was their conviction, 5-10 years ago versus where they are today. And I think it's all about what their time horizons are from an investor perspective and the risk appetite, right? I think if you talk to some general partner VC firms, they always have a 5-10 year time horizon, right? I think it's the conviction on where the technology and what it's going to bring and what problems it's going to solve over time versus a trading firm that's going to find the next hot thing tomorrow. There's arbitrage across a market and they're looking to make a quick profit. They don't care what token it is, right? So it's a quick win. But if you start to move towards the exchange traded products that have been launched over the past few years with, starting with Bitcoin and Ethereum, you're starting to tap into these other audiences like the endowment funds and the pension funds that look at this as innovation, right? Technology innovation and thinking about being, having some of these bets, right? And thinking about having that as part of their investment vehicle. So when you start with the Bitcoin and Ethereum, right, it will just organically start to cascade a little bit lower down, right? So you'll see index products are out there. They're a basket, right? They're a basket of the digital gold of Bitcoin and Ethereum and some other tokens or blockchain infrastructure because they had that conviction of where they see the industry going, right? So it's all about time horizon, risk appetite, and where their interests are. But again, people are interested, right? And that's the important piece. And we're there to help educate them and show the differentiation of how maybe a Polkadot differs from an Ethereum or Bitcoin, and what's the value proposition?
Yeah, the institutions still are paying attention to this whole industry, but it is obvious that AI is attracting more attention. Yeah. Do you think that AI could diluting the capacity for this industry to attract the capitals?
No, I think it's just going to elevate it, right? And we talked about these different trends of technology, and I use Claude Cowork and Claude Code because these are innovations that help everyone work much more efficiently. And if I think about even within Parity, starting to pressure test this AI infrastructure to use it to our advantage, right? How can we be much more efficient as a business, especially from a finance guy, thinking about efficiency and cost optimization. I think it's really powerful. So from an AI side and using it for sure, but then when you talk about AI and compute, that becomes a bigger issue, right? Thinking about energy and data centers and GPUs and all these things all together, they're costly initiatives. And I think we're going to start to see a shift of maybe utilizing blockchain technology for compute, right? Much more lower cost compute. And that's something where I think Polkadot really thrives in.
Yeah, I think they are AI and blockchain. They are two very important technology.
Yeah.
That we cannot see that we have this and we will ignore the other one. But it's like these two technology are evolving together and empower each other.
They do, but also create hurdles for each other, right? There's always pain points, especially from an AI perspective, is what we're seeing across the internet. I think if you look at internet traffic, I think there's some stats around there where more than 50% of that are bots. So how do we start to protect humans from interacting and getting scammed, right? And I think that starts to come around to what, Parity has been focused on, I think from Gab's perspective, is that proof of personhood. How can we prove that someone that is interacting on the internet with someone across the world is really a human, right? It's not just click a button on a capture type screen to say you're a human, because AI and bots, they're going to be able to beat that, right? So that human element, I think, is going to be super crucial to differentiate how you can navigate the internet layer and then technology as a whole.
More details about POP, like when it's gonna be launched?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of testing going on at the moment. I'm not the product manager, nor can I speak on when it's actually getting launched, but I think it's getting close. And I think it's a powerful tool. And I think I see this as iteration V1, right? And I think once you open this technology up to other developers and innovators in the space, it's really great because now they can kind of take their own vision with it and build on top of it, right? And I think that's where the best part about what blockchain and open source technology can do. It empowers others for the impossible, right? And I think that's really what Parity has been spearheading, is what we believe in, is I think all the engineers is building this technology and then now educating others on how powerful it is and having it there available to use.
Yeah, this is a great product that Parity is going to deliver. But before we dive more details to product, I have still institutional concerns that I want to hear your views, which is, the overview committee feels like that if institution, flows their money into a ecosystem, it means very positive. But we can see from market that the liquidation already happened to institutions.
Yeah.
So could you share your views on what real value institutions do bring to the ecosystem?
Yeah. Look, and you're right. A lot of people, you've been seeing liquidations and you're seeing oracles not operating, for instance, the 1010 crash with Binance. There's a lot of concerns. And when you talk about like financial institutions, you're not talking about tens of millions of dollars. You're talking about billions and trillions of dollars, right? So I think any sense of uncertainty and any risk to that extreme, their compliance and risk committees are not going to approve this in any time soon, right? So I think there's still time to evolve and ensure that they have these guardrails in place, that they know that they can operate, whether it's on chain, whether it's across the centralized exchange, but understand what the risk parameters are, being able to pivot and understand how they can operate safely, right? So whether it's
for institutions, they are new, they are fresh to this industry. They have to learn.
Exactly.
They have their own learning curve.
100%, right? So it's everything starting from what is self-custody versus using a custodian. When I want to move assets from one place to another, those are bridges, right? How do you think about using cryptographic bridges like, Hyperbridge, right? When you think about smart contract risk, all these things add up in complexities and stablecoins, right? Thinking about on-off ramps. Who is calculating the FX conversion rate on that? How is it getting it from point A to point B? So I think really it's all about having these frameworks in place for institutions so that they can have the internal processes that they have today and the normal financial structures, but utilizing blockchain, right? And I think those will start to merge together eventually, and therefore it's just going to be a much more efficient way to move capital at a lower cost perspective and a lot more seamlessly.
Okay, and you shared that institutions always have a long-term view, and when they choose when they make decisions. So you already shared that their they like the innovation of blockchain. So could you share more about their perspective on what is still missing in blockchain industry for them?
What is interesting?
What is still missing?
Oh, what is still missing? Yeah, I think it's, what we talked about, it's those frameworks in place, right? And I think it's regulatory clarity. So most importantly, if I think about the US, the Genius Act was passed last year, but it was passed, but you don't have all the underlying, I think, rules of the road necessarily for stablecoins, right? There's some high level guidance on how you need to operate with stablecoins, but more importantly, it's that Clarity Act that has been a hot topic for a long time with the administration, and it gets political. But I think until some of those things come out and they can operate within these guardrails, right? And nothing better than to have that regulatory clarity. It's going to be important for that to be there before they start to move further. But you already see, the different asset managers of the world tokenizing funds on chain, right? And that's apparent, right? You're going to start to see, you're seeing stablecoin adoption, right? That is just going to get more and more present in blockchain, because they're starting to understand how the distribution angle, the efficiencies of what blockchain can offer them.
Yeah, it's happy to see that US regulation made very big progress. It's already very good compared to 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I know the Gensler era was definitely quite the high barrier to entry for everyone and caught a lot of frustration and debanking and everything. So the tides have turned quite a bit, and excited to see what happens. And also, I think when you have Hong Kong as well, right? The Hong Kong dollar backed by the US dollar, it's great that the team here locally got the first blockchain partnership with Hong Kong OASES, the government, and thinking about how use cases can be deployed on Polkadot, whether it's tokenizations and other enterprise solutions that are part of this group together of innovation. I think that's super powerful. So I think collectively there will be that overarching, I'd say, maybe guidelines globally that everyone kind of works seamlessly together, because it's important from a jurisdictional standpoint. How do they operate? Because institutions, from a financial standpoint, are global. So when you're moving cross-border payments within even your own infrastructure, it's important to understand where there are those risks from a jurisdictional standpoint, especially currencies that are used.
Yes, that is true. And yesterday I checked with the organizers of the consensus. I asked why you choose Hong Kong for twice, and they asked that it is Hong Kong government tried to attract them there. So I think the government really are working hard to make progress on these directions. And that's what we spoke with the OASES team yesterday in person to think about that, and that's exactly that, right? So they want to be part of innovation. They want to think about and not being left behind, and I think that's super powerful, being a financial hub here and having global connections with the big markets of London and New York, etc., where a lot of that liquidity sits today. Okay. Innovation, regulation is a broader word that's narrow to Polkadot and Polkadot Hub. And it is, everyone is expecting, and it's finally launched, and smart contract get deployed. And now the community expecting what gonna be delivered deployed on the Polkadot Hub, and want to hear more plans from Parity, because Parity are so decisive on delivering very useful product for daily life and for the future. So could you give us more information, more details that we can expect on?
And just caveat, I am speaking in my own personal views, and I'm not speaking for Parity or Polkadot in general, but my own views are what value does Polkadot Hub bring, right, to the ecosystem? From my perspective, when Polkadot was built, it wasn't another smart contract chain, right? There's a broader vision on what we wanted to build, this blockchains of blockchains, this interoperability layer. However, that came at a high cost and high barriers to entry. And I think for the first time ever, we're actually deploying, it collectively as a whole to have this lower barrier to entry, and launching this, EVM compatibility or Ethereum compatibility smart contracts through Revive on Polkadot Hub. Now, I know it was just launched a couple weeks ago. Again, there's been a lot of kind of feedback on crypto Twitter and stuff on maybe some pain points, but this is the first iteration. So I think it is helpful to get that feedback so we can improve the functionality and make sure that beyond just the Ethereum compatibility, it grows, right? And I think that's what PVM, the Polkadot virtual machine, is to be able to deploy, where you'll be able to code not only in Solidity, but in other coding language to, again, so lower barriers to entry and have additional users outside of crypto native building, right? So that brings me to, more so the product vision that Parity has now, to a certain degree. And I think, I wouldn't say, from my perspective, Parity is going to be this development company where we're going to be having multiple businesses that we're going to be launching and going to market with, but more so taking the advantages of the engineers that built the core infrastructure of Polkadot. They know it the best. So what better use case now with Gavin at the helm to now build some middleware technology, right? Because I think if I think about the layers of the cake is we have the core infrastructure, the substrate SDK. It allowed us kind of to build what was out there today, right? But I think what's missing still that we're actively building now is that middleware, right? Because you have consumer applications at the top layer, and those necessarily just won't be one-to-one with the core infrastructure. So I think at the same time, we're kind of flying the plane and building it at the same time, where it's important to build that decentralized middleware infrastructure while thinking about proof of concept products and showcasing that, right, to the world and the community on what is possible and how can we lower the barriers to entry with these toolkits to put them to use. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the effort is to the effort is still building the infrastructure and get everything ready and attract more individual developers.
Yeah, so it's still some infrastructure, right? Like I was talking about, middleware is still infrastructure, but then it's also ideating on the proof of concepts from a consumer perspective, right? How can we think about utilizing this and making a seamless onboarding experience, right? Not having to remember a seed phrase, or thinking about it much easier to on-off ramp from fiat to crypto. Utilizing products that you use on an everyday basis, but feel you don't need to trust any central intermediary, right? And I think there was some showcase in Argentina around people showing the first generation of the app that's going to start to be developed. And I think over the next few months, you'll start to see some things rolled out. And I think it's exciting, right? But I think it will take time, right? This is not magic, right? We're not just going to come out of thin air. We're going to have a Revolut app that is going to have millions of users in 2 weeks, right? So I think we just need to level set and understand, but we want the community to now take this and adopt it and work with us to kind of make it into a much larger global initiative.
Yeah. I think the community have a expectation, like because they already received some message from the announcement from the Parity or Web3 Foundation that they are understanding that Parity is gonna to deliver product very quickly, and maybe one product 2 week. So is that too much?
I'd say in today's terms, it's probably a little ambitious, right? And I think that maybe was a figure of speech, right? But eventually, once we build those extra layers, that toolkit, right? I talked about that middleware. That's so important in order to have that, because once that is in place, different, middleware toolkits, you can then start to spin things up much faster, right? And I think it's just like using Claude Code, right? Ideating your application, having that middleware to connect into, that will then just run on the foundational infrastructure, that will be possible. But I think it's going to take some time, because like I said, that wasn't the mandate of Parity early on, right? Early on in the white paper and beyond in Polkadot 2.0 was really improving and future-proofing the core infrastructure. So now the team has been really working hard on this middleware, and I think once that gets to a much stronger position, these consumer application proof of concepts will start to be much faster.
Okay, right. That will be great.
Yeah.
And is there other, how about what is the progress on the Polkadot app?
Yeah. Of the Polkadot app?
Yeah.
That's going to be one of those products that they're working on, right? So I think different functionality. Look, I know the community has been waiting a long time for the Polkadot app. There have been changes, right? There's an initial vision from my perspective on what the Polkadot app should be, what should it represent, how it should operate. But that has shifted, and I think it's really shifted in a positive way that sticks to the core ethos of what Polkadot represents and our trustless, right? This self-sovereign foundational infrastructure that we're building. And I think the community will be excited about when it does come to life and it gets launched. I think it'll be much easier for people to utilize it on a daily basis versus what I envision the other app not being as adopted.
Yeah, we've talked what's going on Parity and what product Parity are focusing on right now and what we can expecting. But what surprised me on this booth for the 2 days is that previously when we attend the big conference, and the most question we take is what's going on. What is the progress on Polkadot now, and what is going on Polkadot? But now, the most question we've been taken is what is Polkadot? So we have to admit that the market, shift very fast, and there are newcomers. They know nothing about Polkadot. So, but this is also an opportunity that we can give a new impression to these newcomers without the burden of yesterday. So if you are standing on the booth today and some people come to you and ask what is Polkadot, what you gonna explain to them?
The way I look at Polkadot today it's this multi-purpose, self-sovereign internet layer that has always stick to the core of what we've always believed in as Web3. And that's something that I think if you go to a lot of the other blockchains out there, they've always pivoted to what's the next hot thing, right? Whereby I think Polkadot and the ethos of Kusama, the sister network of Polkadot, has always believed in this vision, right? And it's a longer term vision, and it's not it wasn't a yesterday thing, it's not a tomorrow thing. But I think what's most important, I think around even just the community of Parity and what we do, and from Gavin's perspective, it is that vision, right? It's this self-sovereign internet layer that's a supercomputer, right? We're going to be able to deploy a lot of different products and services on top of it that brings this vision to life. And I think that's important.
Yeah. And some people will ask, before we can see a lot of layer ones in the big conference, but now only few.
They ran out of money.
And so I hope that really, I think 2026 is very, there's a lot of expectations from the community because, we have been, the technology ready is a long waited story, but now we have everything ready. So I think the community or the market is really gonna see some real product that be deployed on this industry, on Polkadot ecosystem. So
of course. And I think, while Parity is ideating and kind of building this next level of infrastructure and product use cases, I still don't, want to kind of steer away from pressure testing the technology that we built. And I think it's very powerful. And I think different partnerships that allow, whether it's with financial institutions or enterprise businesses, is something that I'm really excited about. And that's something I really want to continue to focus on to make sure that, hey, we can do pilots. We can show why Polkadot is so resilient. Why, when we did the pressure testing on transactions per second, why it's so high, right? When we think about the Basti blocks and the block times on Polkadot from 6 seconds to 2 seconds, and now we're testing 500 milliseconds, right? What are different use cases can we bring to Polkadot Hub to showcase that? And then it would just kind of support with distribution and also kind of help people understand how powerful Polkadot is while we're also launching these proof of concept products at the same time. So I think both worlds still need to kind of live and grow.
Yeah, but anyway, I think 2026 is gonna be a show time for Polkadot.
Yep, I do. I know. I agree as well.
Okay, thank you for join our interview, and thank you for all the information you shared. And I think this is gonna fill in the gap, between the community and the Parity.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate kind of what Polka World do and you to continue to support on educating the community, especially here in Asia. See you always really active on crypto Twitter and stuff, so that's fantastic. And please keep doing that, and always happy to kind of be here to have a chat and work with the community and think about feedback and think about how we can kind of grow this vision together. And I'm excited for the next couple of years to come.
Yeah, thank you. And I think we will continue building and witness the showtime of Polkadot all together.
Awesome.
Okay,
Sounds
thank
great.
you.
Thank you so much.